You're ready to buy your first home here in Charlotte, but before you take the plunge, there are a few hidden costs you need to be aware of. I'm Becky McCully, your local Charlotte Realtor. Let's get to it. There are a few hidden costs of both buying a house and owning a house. So let's talk about the hidden costs of buying a house first. You have to pay attorney fees, and a lot of people forget about that. They're only thinking about the purchase price of the house, the inspection, and the lender fees. But there are also a bunch of other fees that pop up you will pay at closing. One of those is the attorney fee, which is generally going to be around $1,000 on the buy side. Then you have prepaids. So what are prepaids? Those are things like homeowners insurance, HOA dues, if those are applicable, property taxes, things that are going to go into your escrow account where the lender withholds this amount and they contribute to it each month so that then when the bill comes due, then they have the money available to pay it. Different lenders have requirements that you have to have, say, 2 months or 3 months of prepaids set up at the initial closing. Say, for example, your monthly HOA fee is going to be $300, and if you have to have 2 months of HOA and escrow, that's $600 extra that you're going to have to bring to closing because you need to handle those prepaids and set up that escrow account. In addition, there are title insurance fees. So there's two components to this. There's a lender title insurance policy and there's an owner title insurance policy. You as the buyer pay for both policies. You are essentially buying an insurance policy to say that there is good title on the property. So for example, say that there were some transfers in the past and now all of a sudden Bobby comes forward and says, oh, I have a right to this property because I'm the grandson of, one of the prior owners or something. Essentially that process would get settled and people would figure out who the rightful owner is. But if there's any claims on the property, that's what title insurance is for, is to sort of protect your ownership of it. The lender wants to make sure that they have insurance for that because obviously the mortgage is secured by the property, and if you don't own the property, they have nothing to collect on. So that's why having a lender title policy is important. And of course they make you pay for it too. And then of course you want a title insurance policy for yourself as well, and it's required so that if something happens, you then are protected, not just the mortgage company. Before we start to talk about the hidden costs of home ownership, I'm Becky McCully, your local Charlotte Realtor. There's a few other hidden costs as an owner of property. Things that people don't think about: utilities. You may be living in an apartment or a small place. Now you have this house, it's got more square footage. It's generally gonna cost more in utility bills, and not by like just $10 or $20. It seems like it always goes up by at least $50 a month. Whenever you're budgeting for what you can afford and what your post-closing budget is gonna be, you need to increase utilities pretty significantly just to cover yourself. You're also gonna have things like probably like trash and water and sewer that you may not have been paying as a tenant renting another property. You are only paying electric and maybe gas. So those are some hidden costs that pop up that people don't think about, as well as maintenance items for the house. Lawn care. If you're not going to purchase a lawnmower and do that work yourself, you're going to have a monthly expense to take care of that for you. So people forget about all of those little things that they've never had to do before. But now all of a sudden, okay, I have to worry about pest inspections, termites, like I need to prevent bugs and creepy crawlies from coming in my house, which before somebody else took care of that. It's just all these other little added expenses that most people don't think about. And then if you live in a neighborhood that has a homeowners association, that is also an additional fee that you're gonna have to pay every month. Mostly you're gonna see that in townhouse and condos where there's gonna be a required HOA fee because that covers some of those common maintenance things. But there are also some neighborhoods that have an HOA. It's going to be a little bit less than sort of a condo or a townhouse fee, but it's just to keep up with sort of the common areas of the neighborhood and lawn care of common greenways and things like that. Depending on how many amenities the neighborhood has is going to generally dictate how much that monthly HOA fee is going to be. So another hidden cost of buying a house that people don't think about is you are likely going to have to buy a refrigerator and a washer and dryer. Sometimes you can negotiate that the seller leaves those things, but sometimes the seller, maybe they just replace them and they want to take them with them and they're not willing to leave them. You think you're just gonna like buy the house and move in, but you are gonna need to budget for a refrigerator and a washer and dryer at a minimum. So how much should you budget for all of these things? I would generally plan to allocate a minimum of $250 every month in addition to your mortgage payment. And that's to cover these maintenance items, increased utilities, all of that. If you have an HOA, then you're gonna need to increase that even more than sort of the $250 that we just talked about. So these are all costs that you should expect to incur. They're nothing to be afraid of, but I just wanna make sure that you budget appropriately for them so that you're prepared. Before we get to the hidden costs of homeownership, let's talk about,
Me.
oh my God. I'm Becky.